Film editing.
Now, I want to say something about film editing. I'm sure everyone remembers the year of Crash and Brokeback Mountain. I predicted Crash to win that year. It was me and my buddy Roger Ebert. We were the only two people predicting Crash to actually win. But when Crash won film editing, I knew it was going to win Best Picture because most of the time, I think 75 to 80% of the time, the film that wins Best Film Editing, and they'll push, that's usually the last technical award they will hand out before they start doing the main categories, and they do that on purpose because most of the time, if you win film editing, you win Best Picture. So film editing is one of the most important precursors of the telecast to kind of clue you in. So for film editing, I'm putting the artist because I think the artist will win Best Picture, not that I think that was the best edited film of the year.
I actually hope that the Academy does something different with editing, which they have at times. And I hope they use it to honor a film that when you do step back and look at the achievement of real pace, it should win, and that's Moneyball. If you think of Moneyball as a film that was based upon a book that was about math, and it becomes this suspenseful story that we all know how it's going to end, that pace and rhythm was created in the editing room. And it is so beautifully edited, but again, it doesn't seem to have a lot of support. I actually wouldn't be surprised if the girl with the dragon tattoo wins in this category.
Well, it's the most technical.
I keep thinking about growth in something, even though I wanted it to be over before it started.
Travis, what are you saying for film editing?
Well, considering that the best film that made use of editing isn't even nominated, Martha Marcy May Marlene, I don't have a dog in this race.
Yeah, but you're still predicting.
I know, so, wow, I had no idea that the writer, director, the artist was also the editor. Interesting.
He was the dog, too.
He was Huggy. Yeah, I like the artist, though if we see a split ticket between the artist and Hugo, I could see Thelma Schoonmaker sneaking in there, getting another Oscar.
And Travis just mentioned, well, he mentioned two things I'm going to stop and talk about. You may hear us talk about a split ticket, and I'm clear what that is. It's kind of what happened with Brokeback Mountain Crash. Like, not one movie's going to win everything, or even in a certain category, half the people will vote for one thing and half the people will vote for other. And the way they vote is if everybody puts one for the artist, or half the people vote one for the artist and one for Hugo, then if everybody puts two on the Descendants, then the Descendants wins. So a lot of times you'll see that, and that's what Travis was talking about, a split vote there. So, and then I think a lot of us, certainly the critics in our group, feel that most of the best movies of the year are not on this list. Drive being one of them, one of mine and Travis's favorites. So you'll, and it's kind of disheartening for us critics, but as critics we seem to go for more edgy material. And this year the theme with the Oscars is they kind of played it safe, and they picked films that have happy-go-lucky endings, and they kind of shied away, except for The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, they kind of shied away from movies that are edgy and don't really have inconclusive endings. All of these films kind of end up in a good place.
I don't know if that's entirely true, because I think that they did honor the Tree of Life, which was seen by 5 people. And
even Tree of Life has a...
But it's a very unconventional film.
Right.
Now, they didn't honor Melancholia, which is the Tree of Life Part 2. The world ends in that film.
Well, Tree of Life will all begin.
But again, the average age of the Academy membership is like 52, so they aren't necessarily going to the cinema at midnight on Saturday night. And perhaps it is more traditional. I think, again, if we kind of go back and say there isn't logic, they are going to, as you say, go for safety, but they do push the edge now and then. A few years ago, when The Hurt Locker won, that was certainly considered an edgy moment. Although, looking back, it's a fairly traditional film.
Well, it's like I said when I was looking at the past Oscar winners going back to 2000. It's like the edgiest one I think that won was No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, and that was and its toughest competition that year was There Will Be Blood, which was again a very tough movie. And then you have, great things like Crash and the greatest, what is the circus movie, The Greatest Show on Earth, that was certainly memorable. So.
And in like the critics world, and I listen to all these Oscar blogs, the blogosphere, these people are angry this year because these movies are being, again, they're angry that the Academy, for a couple of years, like with Crash and with The Hurt Locker, they were picking more edgy choices, or at least nominating more edgy films, and so a lot of people felt like the Academy was getting younger, They changed the way they vote just because The Dark Knight didn't get nominated in the Batman film, and that was huge, that a comic book movie, which is a fantastic movie, changed the Oscars. I mean, that's why we have 10 movies now instead of...
And we'll go back to 5 next year, because I think that would be good. And maybe the membership did get younger, but we all get older, so the younger gets older. But watching on Oscar night these technical categories can be a lot of fun because you do see some trends emerge. Let's look at the music categories, which are, in the music categories, change all the time.
What film did you say didn't get nominated?
Drive, the Ryan Gosling film that won Best Director at the Cannes Film Festival. A lot of times, people always say, because Cannes happens in the summer, right? And like May. A lot of people say that if you get nominated or if you're recognized at Cannes, that kills your Oscar chances because they're all for edgy, new
unless you're the artist.
Unless you're the artist. But I mean, the artist didn't even win anything.
No, he won.
He did. Oh, and then.
But there's several wonderful movies that were snubbed this year. Shame, which is not an easy movie to watch, but is certainly an important film. We need to talk about Kevin, which is a devastating story about a young man who creates a Columbine-like tragedy, and really thought those would be remembered.
But again, remember, those were edgy films that did not have good endings, and the Oscars just shied away from that. They wanted happy things.
But in the music categories, the music branch changes the rules almost every year. And so this year, which could be the last year for the Best Song Award, which I don't think anyone would cry over, there are only 2 nominees, which is really, we're like an eeny, meeny, and there's no mo. And so it's gone from 5 to whatever. So this year we have 2.